Hello and welcome to another stream as I stall for my phone to catch up so I can make sure everything's working okay. Thank you for being here. There's a little bit of a delay, as you can sort of see. I appreciate it. I have changed so much. Well, not changed. I'm just using a lot of different stuff than I did last time I streamed. And it's always a little scary to see if that's going to work. So let's see real quick here. All right. That's not too bad. Thank you for being here. It's been a couple weeks since I did a stream. I don't do a weekly stream. I was just streaming weekly for a while. And then last week I was busy with some projects, and the week before that I was busy prepping for a very quick trip to New York City to do a podcasting roundtable at B&H Photo. So talk about all that fun stuff today, along with just whatever audio video questions or general questions, just whatever. Just hang out and stream. Streaming is fun. Had a bunch of stuff I wanted to try out today, so appreciate you being here. I see Gil is here. I see Talk Horrors here. My buddy Audio Hotline. We got Gucci, Jonathan, Rio Pel Room, Jesse, my lovely wife Heather. We've been doing some cool projects in her studio the past couple days. Randy's here. We got Mad Music. And Chris, what's up? And also hello to everybody who joins after I said hi to everybody. So the plan for today is just sort of hang out, talk. I got some stuff I can share with you, some cool stuff to try out, and some questions and stuff. Depends on how busy streams get. If they're chill, it doesn't matter. But if you put a Q colon, if you have an actual question, you put a Q colon in front of it, it can help me find it easier. If you don't do that, it's fine. Like, it's not the end of the world. But it's sort of like, the chat is full of questions and the chat is full of chat. And so that just sort of helps distinguish a little bit. But yeah, we can go through just some of the basics right now to get started a little bit. So Gil's here. How you doing? I'm doing good. How you doing, Gil? I'm just going to dive into some of the non-cues for now. We talked about Audio Hotline. I love Audio Hotline. I have nothing else to say. I just love you. Let's see. Looks and sounds great. Okay, that's good. Let's talk real quick. Sort of switch things up. What you're looking at is what has been my like Zoom/podcast setup. So this is not usually where I'm filming videos at. I mean, it's in the same room. Just like I'm at my computer, my regular Mac Mini computer, and I have a camera on my desk here. I'm running into the Rodecaster Duo. Past couple streams, I've been sort of set up in the middle, and then I was using the YOLO box. I've been trying to mix it up every time I stream. It's a good excuse to like try new things. And so today I'm over here because, wait, why did I switch it up over here? Oh, because I wanted it to be simple. That was all. I was like, why did I do this? Yes, because this is simple. I didn't have to set anything else up. Nothing was already set up to film or anything. So this is like sit down at the desk, push button, start streaming, which is very cool. But I cannot let things stay simple. So I had to make it a little more complicated. Last week, finally, one of the reasons too, we're kind of like offline for a day. We live in an area where there's just not a lot of great network connections. And finally, within the past year, fiber internet has been available. So we got fiber installed last week, which is like so incredibly nice. Just to be able to upload. It took me 5 minutes to upload a YouTube video yesterday. It used to take like 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. So that's crazy. And then doing that and going through Ecamm and looking at the Ecamm as a software I use to stream, looking at like the bandwidth and the speed for 4K, it said I had more than enough bandwidth, like upload speed to do 4K. So I'm using the Sony FX3 into the Rode Streamer X. I should be streaming at 4K 30. I really kind of felt like I dialed in my 1080 streams and everything was looking really smooth and looking really good. 4K could be a whole nother story. So that's why I was a little nervous about how things looked and sounded, but looks like there's like maybe a slight stutter, but I'm not sure. I also don't normally stream with the FX3, so maybe some of my settings in there are weird. I don't know. Normally I use my A7 IV, but I have this all set for some pictures I have to take later today, so I didn't want to stream with them. Anyway, that's probably more info that you needed to know, but there we go. Let's see here. Jesse Ultratech. I ended up getting the Elgato prompter. That's what I'm looking at right now. And pedal, like you showed in the last video. Tried in my last video. It's awesome. Yes. Yeah, using the pedal with the prompter is awesome. It does take a little like tinkering to get totally sorted out. But, you know, and then there's still like some bugs and glitches in the software, but I feel like Elgato's been pretty good about updating it and letting us know about future updates and stuff, so that's cool. And Mad Music did first live stream yesterday. Used yours as a how to get all. That's awesome. Congrats. I hope you had fun. I hope you had a ton of fun. I hope you had fun. In-depth chats. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Sammy, what's up? I got to meet Sammy in person in New York City at B&H Photo last week. Has the stream started yet? I mean, I guess. Brandon is here. What? My friend Mr. Camera Junkie sent me a clip from your latest stream. I'm sorry I missed it live. You said all kinds of nice things about me, and that warmed my heart. Wondered why I was sneezing that day. Really need to keep dialing in lighting, keep playing with it, but always feel inadequate. It's a never-ending, evolving thing. The past couple days, my wife has her office and studio like on the other side of the wall here, basically, and hers has like been locked down and not moved for like 3 years, pretty much. And her backdrop looks great, but if you sit at her desk and like what you see is just sort of a mess. And so she's like, I really need to fix this. And so we have been like essentially renovating her office for the past couple days, and it looks so good, and there's been so much progress. So yeah, it's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna jump into some cues, see if we can A some cues, and then we'll jump back into the general chat. It doesn't matter. We could be very loosely structured here. No worries. Let's see. Talk horror. How does the video quality of the XL1 stack up against the XL2? Well, check this out. I did something kind of fun for this stream. Just in case I needed to get up and grab something, I can switch over to the Rode Interview Pro, and then I can also switch over to my InstaLink webcam, which should... Is it not following me? Hi. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Watch this. Now I can get up and I should be able to walk over here and it should follow me, and I can open up this closet door and I can grab this, which is my Canon XL1, and I can come back here and then I can push this button and I can be over here. I can push this button and switch the mic. Let me see what that sounded like. Did that work? Hey. That's cool. That's fun. There's no need for me to actually have this because I'm not going to show you any footage from it, but I'm a visual person, so I like show and tell. Canon XL1 to XL2 video quality difference. Honestly, minor, because it's still not like an HD thing. It's a digital camera, but it still records to a tape. It was, what is it, the XL1 H, or it was like the XL HDV or something like that. The model that was after that, that was the first one that did like high definition video, which I would love to test that out. So anyway, to answer your question that I had to get up and go grab this camera for no specific reason for, I don't think there's a huge difference in video quality. I haven't used the XL2 myself, and I'm sure there is an improvement, but it's probably not like a night and day difference. Do you record directly into your camera's memory card, or you record to OBS? I record in the memory card, just because, well, a big reason is because I use multiple cameras a lot, and so having all the footage together. And up until recently, I've had trouble getting good-looking footage into the computer. I think I'm starting to solve that problem. I might have thrown a wrench in the work with 4K, but if I can figure that out, that's awesome. My wife has not taken the memory card out of her camera in years because she records directly into Ecamm. And her stuff looks great. It looks the same as the memory card, so I don't know. Yeah, so I record to memory cards just for safety. I actually record to dual memory cards in every camera, just regular SD cards, but I use V90 cards, and there's 2 of them in each of my cameras. So that way there's backups in case I mess something up, which is very, very nice because I have done that before. It's definitely a lesson learned through experience. Gucci, is Accentize that much better than Isotope's RX audio? I have only used Isotope a little bit. I haven't used Accentize, so I can't speak on that. Isotope stuff is fantastic. It's super good. The other thing I've been using a lot when I need to like repair audio is Adobe Enhanced Speech, which I guess not repair, but isolate audio a little bit, especially as I've been like moving around my setup in my studio and stuff. And sometimes the sound treatment or the mic positioning is off, and sometimes the video will sound more reverby or reverberant than I want it to. So I run it through Enhanced Speech, and it really cleans it up in a way that's a bit better than like Final Cut's voice isolation. And sometimes it almost sounds too clear and I need to like mix in a little bit of the reverberant audio to make it sound natural. I don't do that on mic reviews. So if I ever do a mic review, I don't touch the audio on that. I never put effects or processing or fixes on that. That's only on like, you know, if I'm doing like this, I don't remember if I did it on this video, but I did the one with the prompter and the pedal. If it's a video like that, that's not about audio, and there's something I can do to boost up the audio or I need to, then I will totally process it to make it sound good. On mic reviews or interface reviews, I never process the audio because it just doesn't make sense. So anyway, to answer your question, I've only used Isotope. It's great. I like Adobe Speech. Never used Accentize. So there we go. Is there a benefit to using HDMI to computer via USB-C streaming? My motherboard doesn't have fast enough USB to support A7C2, so I'm forced to use HDMI. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there a little bit, because when you're using a capture card, that's essentially, I mean, depending on what you're using, that's kind of taking that converting power, processing power, away from your computer. So if you don't have a super fast computer, then you're using an HDMI capture card, and that's doing it for you and then sending the signal to your computer. So what your computer sees is essentially just a basic webcam signal, which is fine. If you have a really powerful computer, then those USB, like plugging your camera directly to USB, even over 4K, if you have it, can totally work. But it totally depends on your computer. In terms of the result, it's entirely up to you. Like whatever you like. If it works, it works. There we go. Alif Putras, which do you love more, audio or video production? Why? Oh, that's tough. It's hard to distinguish them, and like audio is half of, if not more, of video, so they're kind of like one beast. And I do a lot of audio stuff because it's really fun and I really like it, but I really like cameras. I don't know. I'm just gonna move to the next question because I can't answer that question. Justin Jones, suggestion for a mobile multicam production setup for church events with a budget of $1,000. Okay. Sorry. First thought was YOLObox. YOLObox Ultra is like $1,500-$1,600 ish. YOLObox Pro, which has 3 HDMI inputs, is, I believe, right around the $1,000 mark, and then you've got multi-camera switching and stuff. I don't know if your $1,000 is including cameras. If it is, then it's a little trickier. The other thing, though, that popped into my mind was like Final Cut on iPad and Final Cut camera. You can use phones and iPads to wirelessly multi-stream to like an iPad running Final Cut Pro on the iPad. Then you can have up to 4, I believe it's 4 cameras, 4 phones or iPads with Final Cut camera open, and then it will send the signal wirelessly to that, and you can do it all at once. So if you're on a real budget and you have like phones and iPads, M1 iPads, that's definitely an option. If you already have cameras and you're looking for the streaming setup thing, then the YOLObox is definitely the way to go. And down the line, you could even pair it with some like wireless Hollyland HDMI transmitters and do wireless video, which is super fun, super duper fun. Sadiq, what's up? Need help and recommendations gear how to fully set up a small podcast studio for 2 to 4 people. Okay, that's probably more than I can go into in the stream, but I can give you a great resource. I think if I press this button, yeah, look at that. This is just perfect timing. I had no idea you were going to ask this question. But this is my website, HiMyNameIsTom.com. There is a gear page, and there's a list of what I use, but there's also recommended setups. And I think I've talked about this on a stream before. I can zoom in a little bit here. So the background matches the background. It's weird. But I have just sort of my recommendations for different types of setups. And actually, this is even more perfect because you specifically said podcast for 2 to 4 people. And I literally have a setup of 2 to 4 person podcast. If you click on that, it'll take you down. This is just one long page. You can scroll down and see everything, or you can click these buttons and it'll take you right there. And this has prices because I'm including everything. And you know, prices do change, but I wanted people to be able to look at a setup from scratch and be able to have an idea of what it would cost them to invest in that. So I kind of explain like mixers, give you a couple microphone options and why you might want to use them, talk about different headphones, different mic arms, cables, memory cards, all that kind of stuff. And obviously the price is different for 2 people versus 4 people because there's a different amount of equipment required. But this is a place I would start. If you want my advice, because this is my advice on all of these different, look, even wireless multicam event streaming. There you go. $10,002 from scratch. Wireless 3 camera. So there's all kinds of stuff there. I try to keep this updated as new gear comes out and stuff. And this isn't the only way to do these things. This is just sort of what I've used, what I would recommend, what I do recommend, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a place I would start there. And what am I doing? Why did I put that in the corner? I was just trying to go back to me over here. There we go. Beautiful. That was fun though. You asked like the perfect question. Do you have Ethernet in your studio yet? Nope. Still on Wi-Fi, baby. But we have like, I forget what it is. I think it's over Wi-Fi. I've been getting like 250 to 300 megabytes per second, which is upload speed, which is fine. Our fiber is 2 gigabytes up and down, which you can get. You can get more than that plugged in, but we just don't have cables running in here. Prior to this, even when plugged in, we can max out at 20. And over Wi-Fi, it was like 10. So to go up to like 250 or 300, it's just absurd to me. So anyway, that's, yeah. No plugged in. I'm over Wi-Fi. I know it's like not the thing to do, but it's what I do. Can you use MV7 Plus via USB-C on the Rodecaster Duo? You cannot. You can only use certain Rode products via USB on the Rodecasters, which is one, like, I don't really mind, Rode's, I don't really mind them closing off their ecosystem, but another reason is that I don't fully understand the way that USB microphones work and USB interfaces work. It's not quite the same as a computer, so getting them to talk to each other, the Rode mics have like whatever it is that helps them talk to the Rodecaster better and work better, and then be able to be EQ'd and everything in the Rodecaster. So that there is a practical reason why it's only Rode mics that work with the Rodecasters. Yeah, but the Motive Mix app is really great for fine-tuning the MV7 Plus, and via USB, which I didn't cover in my review of it, if you change the settings via USB, and then it'll save that to the microphone. So then you plug the microphone only via USB. It doesn't matter through XLR, but then you plug it into another computer or whatever, even if it doesn't have the Shure app on it, and all of your processing is still going to be set the same on the MV7 Plus. Pride News, what is up? What do you think is better for use for recording a podcast? 2 Interview Pro microphones or 2 pod mic microphones and a recorder? That's actually a great question. Let's switch over to the Interview Pro to answer that question. Because I really like this microphone, but essentially the reason you're asking, which is why this could be interesting, is because these have built-in recorders, right? Is this on? Hello? Yes, this thing is on. They have built-in recorders, so I could push this button right here, and now I'm actually recording my audio 32-bit float, and I don't even need to be transmitting, and I can turn that off right there. So that's pretty cool. So you can get 2 of these microphones, press record on them, and essentially they're just audio recorders now. It's not unlike the Zoom H1N or H1 Essential, or anything like that. This is just a microphone audio recorder, which is very, very cool. And so you can have a couple people with these, they're recording, and then you take that audio, you mix it together and sync it up, and that's the way you do your podcast. That could be really fun, especially if you do, I like these microphones because they have very low handling noise. I like the audio quality, and if you're traveling a lot, putting 2 of these in your bag takes up very little space at all, versus like Rodecaster, pod mic, headphones, the whole deal. So this can be a practical travel setup. If you're looking for more of a studio setup, even though this would work, these are, $250 each. So 2 of them, $500. That's the price of the Rodecaster Duo. And then you can, or the Mackie DLZ Creator XS. And then you can throw in, whether it's a pod mic, which is $100, so that'd be $200 there. You could even get something like an SM58 if you want a different sound quality. There's so many different mic options in the $100 and under range, especially like the $60 to $100 range. You get some really good choices. So for like $200 or less than this, you could get the mics and the Rodecaster. You would also then need headphones and XLR cables and stuff, but If you want more of a studio setup, that's definitely the way to go because it's a lot more versatile and you can dial in things, you can EQ it, you can use it as an interface, you can more easily do remote guests. If you're just sort of traveling around and like, you know, you're at a convention, you're at someone's place of business and you just want to record something real quick, having 2 of these mics that people can sit back and talk into is incredibly helpful. Sure hope I didn't mess up my audio there when I switched that over too much. All right. And Sadiq, ZV-E10 Mark II, will you review it? If so, please show us how to use it as a webcam. I'm not sure if I'm going to... I don't need any new cameras personally, so I'm not really in the market for a new camera. I did ask to borrow the original ZV-E10 because that has been my like go-to recommendation for people looking to jump into the world of like higher end cameras, or not, I shouldn't say higher end, but like you're going beyond a phone or a webcam or a point and shoot camera. And that's the way to go. The Mark II is just a better version of it. It's more expensive. So if I get one to review, which I might just ask like B&H or something to borrow one when they're available. If I get one to review, I would definitely cover that part of it. But right now I'm actually really, the higher price of the Mark II, I think that camera's awesome. Nothing bad to say about it. But to me, it really highlights the value of the Mark I, the original, being so accessible and so affordable. So I'm almost more interested in that one just for practical reasons, if that makes sense. I'm going to jump into just a regular chat and just catch up for a minute, and then we'll jump back into some questions here. I think where I had left off was, that's right, I saw Mad Music, your stream went for 3 hours, and then Omar's here from Scotland. What up? We're going to A these cues, baby. All right. Oh, here we go. I guess this was a cue, but it didn't have a cue, so I got it. I'm using the Rode Streamer X right now, which I quite like, and I could just be running my audio through there as well. I could actually run both these through there. I could do this and then switch to this wirelessly, but I'm running through the Duo, so there we go. That's what I'm using there. Jonathan, Kansas City IFC folks used to show up after their meetings at my Wednesday night shows. Some would bring their cameras, never saw any. Oh, I'm guessing you're talking about the old, like the XL1s, XL2s. Preston, what's up? Still got, Preston's here. I don't know if you can see. This picture right here is a print that Preston, it's a drone photo print that Preston gave me. And it's awesome. Seeing more and more podcasts using lapels over dynamics, it's a clean look, but different. Yeah, I think it can sound great. I'm all for whatever's easiest. And a cool thing with the lapel, once you know how to set it up, and if the person doesn't mess with it, it's a lot harder for someone who's not used to working with microphones to have poor technique. Like right now, if I were like plosively pronouncing my professional production words on my podcast, you're gonna hear a lot of plosives in this microphone. So I'm like positioning it. I'm very conscious of not creating plosives with the microphone. That's fine for me, but if you're someone who's just a guest on a show and you never talk into a microphone, you'll probably make all kinds of mistakes, touch the microphone, whatever. And so lapel microphones can be a way to sort of prevent some of that on a lot of guests, which is cool. What's up, Mike? You're here. Mike on the mic. I love it. And you have the ZV-E10, have 2 in your setup, no desire to upgrade. The one thing I would kind of consider is I would maybe want a ZV-E10 just to live here on my desk, and that way I don't have to move any of my cameras, or usually I have my A7 IV here, but just having that as like my, then it is a one button thing. I'm not like setting up a camera or plugging anything in, which is cool. 4K crystal clear, that's awesome. That's great. I've never streamed in 4K, so that's awesome. And hello in Washington. Cool. Caught up with the general chat. I'm gonna jump back into the queues, baby. Let's see here. We were right around here. We're on Ryan's question. You're an AV teacher, just like I used to be, and want to implement more marketing into my curriculum. As a former teacher and creator, what would you recommend to make marketing in the AV space fun? Okay. It depends on where you want to go with this. I found that when I was teaching, anything that involved, as cheesy as it sounds, anything involved a personal brand was pretty cool. Like students like that, even if it was making like a personal logo or, just sort of figuring out like what their vibe is as like a person, their interests, they're creating that personal brand. Kids seem to really like, and they're not, super unfamiliar with it because a lot of them watch all kinds of different content creators on different platforms, and they're used to people doing that, and doing that for themselves is pretty cool. I'm not 100% sure, and this is one of those questions that I'm glad you asked. Back on the website here, I do have a curriculum tab where I just dumped a lot of project prompts and ideas, and I feel like, I think it was this one. This should just be a Google folder. This is like a lot of random stuff. So if you go in here, don't be like, oh, it's all very organized. But I used to do production teams, and this was kind of awesome. This is a Pages one. I was hoping I'd find a PDF, but oh, here we go. Here's a PDF. So this was a project I used to do with usually 10th graders, but you could do it at any age. And sometimes I would have students do their individual like brand identities first, and then they would form into teams and try to figure out how each of their individual identities would fit into this new team identity, which is kind of cool. But I basically have them develop a production team with a brand identity. So they'd have to make a logo, a mission statement, and clear roles for each member. And then I would actually make them stick with this. In this case, it was a semester. Sometimes it would be a quarter, whatever projects we were doing. Like they actually had to work together for a while. And some kids, like they took it, they stayed in the same group for like years, you know. But it was kind of cool because it made each person have a role. They got to come up with a name and a logo. And when so sorry, I haven't assigned this project in a while. So I made them do 4 things. They basically needed to create a little media project that had a 60-second promo, and it showed their logos. We talked about how like movie studios and production companies do logos, and we would get into a little bit of graphic design. And so they would create a little logo sequence however they could. It could be basic, it could be complex. And then it would also have team member intros. So it would show how like you might introduce a character, you might introduce a staff member. Some students went like in a very corporate polished direction. Others did like crazy anime stuff. Like it didn't matter. They could be whatever they wanted. And the trick here was that they had to time it to be exactly 60 seconds, which is very fun. And then their logo was a separate file. And so then the rest of the projects that they used for like, say it was the rest of the semester, the projects they used for that time all had to fit into that logo. Like they all started with the logo, and we would even revisit their mission statement. So if a team said something like, our mission is to create, you know, inspiring and motivational documentaries that tell stories of real life people, and then they wanted to do a project that was like a horror film, it's not that the horror film is bad, but it's not what they set out to do. So it was sort of teaching them how to like, you know, say they're going to do something and stick with it. and that was like so much fun. And then they could switch it, you know, like I would give them time to switch it after, you know, a month or 2 or a semester or whatever. That was a cool place to start. It's not so much marketing, but it gets them thinking about brand identities, purposes, mission statements, roles within a team, all that sort of stuff. And then, you know, especially now, again, that was like pre-COVID. Especially now with the way social media has developed, going in the personal brand direction is pretty awesome. And like how to effectively use social media is probably a cool thing for students to learn how to do, where they can share what they're doing. Like before this live stream, I went on Instagram and I just did a quick video of like the setup here with a link that said live stream starting soon, watch it here. That's a little bit of marketing, that kind of stuff. You know, like teaching students to be aware of that and think about that is pretty awesome. So there's lots of ways to approach it, but you can go, if you want to check out these prompts. I know I kind of blasted through that a little bit. Sorry, I keep clicking out of Ecamm and then my hotkeys don't work, and I need to have my Stream Deck plugged in over here, and I don't, because I'm being silly for some reason. But yeah, if you go to, the way I got here was I just went to himynameistom.com, which is my personal website. If you go to the About section, there's curriculum, and there's just sort of Google Drive folders for all these things. There's also the course outlines for the courses I created and sort of how they worked in the, like, this is like how my pathway was set up. But there's the courses, so if you want to like write a course or get a course approved or implemented, you can start there if you want to. And then you have like project prompts and stuff, which you're totally free to use, modify, change. Some of them are PDFs, some of them are pages. this is a bit of a hodgepodge. So like some of them have dates like, this is due on Friday, September 8th, 2019 or something. And it's like, I don't know. You probably ignore that date for your needs. Probably don't need to worry about that too much. But that was cool. That was fun to go down. I'm getting a spinning beach ball over here as I'm stalling before I can go through comments. So let's see. Chris said, is YouTube truly financially worth it? If yes, at what level? Sub count, view count? This varies. Going into YouTube, I personally, this is personal opinion disclaimer, I don't think anyone should ever go into YouTube with the intent that it becomes their like finances, because you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it so much. It's gonna be so long, probably for most of us, before you see anything. I remember, I started my channel. I was a teacher. I had no interest in monetizing my YouTube channel at all. And let's see, I remember I started the channel. It took me 6 months to get to 100 subscribers. After about 4 months, I had made almost 60 videos and I had 36 subscribers. And I had lost money because I just spent money on the channel. Like if I look at my revenue through YouTube, the first year is negative $600 or something. Like it just cost money, but that's okay. And that's the place to start. And then it wasn't until like maybe 2 years later, I started getting like a trickle of ad revenue and affiliate revenue. And when I say a trickle, I mean like, I don't know, ad revenue was like under $100 a month. So I wouldn't call that financially worth it. But it was worth it for so many other reasons. Like I got to make stuff, I got to connect with people, I got to build my skills, I got to have a ton of fun, like all of that stuff. And if you can power through, like I want to do YouTube for those reasons, and then down the line, you never know what's going to happen. That's awesome. At a certain point, for me personally, it got to a point where the channel was generating more money through ad revenue and affiliate sales or affiliate links and stuff, because that just sort of plays in naturally with the stuff I was talking about anyway. That then it started generating revenue. I have some courses for sale because, I was a teacher for 11 years. I like teaching. So, selling courses online helps. And at that point, it was starting to generate, I guess like the way I've heard someone describe it is enough revenue to keep my attention, which is just sort of like, what do I do with this? And then was able to make the leap. But it took me, 5 years of having a channel, 4 years of having a channel before that was even within the realm of possibility. And for a lot of people, it never happens. And it's different for everybody. So it absolutely can be. There is no specific level. I know people who have million+ subscriber channels and still have their day jobs. I knew people who went full-time at like 30,000 subscribers. So there is no specific like threshold where suddenly you are immediately making a bunch of money. Niches are different. The way people do their channels are different. The way people monetize their stuff, handle revenue is all very different. I didn't have ads on my videos for a really long time. And then eventually YouTube just started putting ads on every video, even if the channel's not monetized, or it was almost like there's going to be ads on your video. Do you want a cut of the revenue or not? Was kind of what YouTube went with. And I was like, well, okay, if you're going to put ads, then yeah, give me some of the revenue. If I was choosing ads or no ads, I wanted no ads because ads are distracting. But yeah, so it's a little different for everybody. I can tell you my channel, I went full time when the channel was at about 60,000 subscribers. So not 100K at all. And I have found my channel seems to perform best, which is a very strange thing to say, but it seems like the channel grows and revenue is stable when it's able to get somewhere between like 25 and 35,000 views in a 48-hour period. So when you go into YouTube analytics, you can click on views and it'll show you like last 48 hours, how many views. If it's at around 25,000 to 48 in a 25 to 35,000 in a 48-hour window, that's where things seem to be going smoothly. And lately, it's been at 15 to 19,000. So it's been under that, which is a thing that happens. And sometimes, especially probably towards the end of the year, towards the holidays, typically it goes above that. So it's quite a roller coaster, I guess that's the non-answer to that question. Which budget 4K live stream camera lens? Oh, boom, got you. sorry, it's not budget. I wouldn't say, it depends on what your definition of budget is. The Sony ZV-E10, the camera with the lens is like $900, I think. Maybe sometimes on sale for $800. That's where I would go. And the kit lens that comes with it is perfectly capable. It's not the best lens in the world, but it's going to get you started. And that's a beautiful, awesome 4K camera. If you can then at some point upgrade, you can get something like the Sigma 16mm f1.4, which on the ZV-E10, which is a crop sensor camera, that 16mm will look somewhat like the 24mm lens I'm using right now. That's my favorite combo to recommend. And I know you might be saying $900, $800, not super budget. The reason for that is because there are cheaper cameras out there. You can find $500, $600 cameras. They're usually so limited and frustrating in some way that I would almost just recommend sticking with like your phone or a webcam. Like just get a clear 4K webcam. Use the Insta-Link that I'm using over here. Use something like the Elgato Facecam. Use your phone as a webcam. I know iPhones do it. I'm sure Android has lots of ways to easily make your phone a webcam, and just use that until you can save up the money to buy, at minimum, the ZV-E10 Mark I. And then from there, it just gets better. Because otherwise, you're spending so much money to just be frustrated that it's better to just not spend the money. Have you used Reaper? I have not used Reaper. I fear the Reaper. Barbells and Bourbon, what are your thoughts on sliders for a podcast? I use 2 cameras, 1 central shot, one on my guest. I was thinking of adding some movement. I love it. I haven't done it in a while. I did it on a stream maybe a month ago where I just had my slider. I have the Shark Slider Nano, which I really like. I can actually, it's right here. Oi. I like this one because, well, it's iFootage stuff is just built really well. And this works really, really well for me. And it's motorized and it's pretty simple to use. This is several years old, so there's probably even like newer, better, more reliable ones. But I like this because it's compact, but the way that it works, I don't know if I can show. Oh yeah, here. You can kind of see the way that it works. It sort of moves. If the tripod is where my hand is, you can kind of see, even though it's relatively short, its range of motion is longer. You already have a slider though, so you probably don't need to know that. Some people say this has micro jitters, but either I'm just a jittery person or I haven't noticed it on mine. And that's been fine. I like doing that. I like adding a really slow movement sometimes. In technical filmmaking terms, you would probably call that unmotivated camera movement. Like the camera doesn't need to be moving. It can just be locked off like this. But it adds something dynamic. It's pretty fun. I've had mixed feedback when I do that in videos or on streams. Some people love it and some people hate it. So it's kind of about what you like. And I guess if your audience, if most of your audience says that they absolutely hate it, maybe listen to them. But if it's like 50-50, then it's up to you. I like it. I think it's worth trying out. Let's put it that way. It's worth trying out and seeing how you like it and how people like it. Say the jokey box, the jockey box. Can you use a program to make a cheap $20 mic sound acceptable? Depends on the microphone. There are definitely, if it's I think Behringer makes a cheap $20 microphone that sounds awesome. Whereas Newer makes the NW800, which sounds like a turd. So that's the only mic I'll ever say anything actually negative about for the most part. It depends on the microphone. There's definitely software. If we kind of mentioned earlier, you can use stuff like Isotope. You can use Adobe Enhanced Speech. You can use all that stuff to try to improve your audio a bit. And you can then get into something like Adobe Audition or Logic or Audacity, and then you can process and EQ your audio. You can run your microphone through a mixer like a Rodecaster and EQ it. So you can definitely make a cheap microphone sound good. And if you can make your cheap mic sound good, when the time comes that you upgrade to a higher quality microphone, it's like you have such a strong foundation, a strong infrastructure, it's going to be even easier to get great sounding audio. So it's totally possible. What's the one thing that took your YouTube game to the next level? That's a great question. There's so many things over the years. I guess 2 come to mind. Recently, it was redoing my setup here. So I'll switch over to this microphone just for funsies. And now I got to get the camera. The camera keeps I keep talking with my hands and then the webcam stops following me. But let's see, I can stand up over here, try to monitor this. So recently-ish, I kind of redid my whole little like studio office setup here. And for a long time I had a table. I have a whole video about this, but for a long time I had a table that was kind of here, and it was like so hardwired in. It was actually the desk that I'm sitting at here. And the problem with that was it completely killed like all versatility for my stream, or for my videos in my studio. And so this corner is the only thing in here that's not movable. Everything else in here is on wheels. So I can move this. This is height adjustable. This is on wheels. Like everything in here is on wheels, which is really nice, because then I have so many different angles to film in. I have space to move around. I can set stuff up. I can tear stuff down. The video where I talked about redoing my studio, I showed some of the different angles. I can get like over a dozen distinct camera angles with like different backdrops and different lighting effects in here now. This is not a huge space. This is like a 12 foot by 12 foot space. It's not huge at all. And go over here. And that has been the most recent change, because what it did is it totally eliminated like so much friction from my workflow, and it made so many things possible, because now it's kind of to the point where if I have an idea, like I'd like this kind of setup, or I should do this sort of thing, I know I can do it and I just have to figure it out. Whereas before it was like, oh, I'd like to do that, but I can't because of some physical limitation of the space. So that has been probably the biggest one recently. There we go, smooth transition. Beyond that, another thing, an easier thing maybe that took it to the next level, I remember specifically, it was January of 2020. That was when the channel hit 10,000 subscribers. And I don't do a lot of like, you know, milestone videos, but I did one for like 5,000, 10,000. I did 100,000 live stream. Maybe like a 40,000 live stream. I don't know why 40, but that stuck out as a big number to me. But 10,000 for some reason was so like, I didn't think I'd get 100 subscribers. Hitting 1,000, hitting 10,000 was like, I just didn't compute to my brain. And so I did a video about that. And that was kind of where like, I figured if 10,000 people liked what I was doing, they must like something about me or my approach for some reason. And I really liked connecting with the audience. And I was worried that as the audience grew bigger, it was going to be harder to connect with the people who watch my channel. And going back to teaching, one thing that always helped me to connect with students, and is just sort of how my brain works, is bad jokes and cheesy puns and stuff. Like I can't turn, it's just the brain is broken, and that's just what happens. And I was like, you know, YouTube's not that different, right? Like you're trying to catch people's attention. You're trying to make them interested in something they might not even be interested in normally. And prior to that, I was so worried about like wasting someone's time that I tried to just have just the information. And the videos are great. Like I love a lot of my old videos, but if you go back and watch them, like it's literally like, this is the GoPro Hero 5 and this is the GoPro Hero 7. The 7 has hyper smooth stabilization, which is much better than the 5s. You can see right here in this image that the 7 stabilization is like, it's much more like that, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But it was like, I would literally cut out funny things, or I would cut out my personality essentially, because I didn't want to waste anyone's time. And I just wanted to, you came here for a camera review, came here for a mic review. I don't want to give you anything except that. And I want it to be as quick as possible. It doesn't have to be 10,000 subscribers. I don't know why that's what clicked in my brain, where it was like, maybe it's okay to just sort of have a little more of who I am in the videos. And I don't have to cut all that stuff out and leave it on like the virtual editing room floor. And so I started putting that stuff in, and that was huge because people definitely hate it, but it also like allowed me to continue connecting with people who watch my channel in what I feel is a really meaningful way. And it's very easy for stuff online and stuff on YouTube to not feel like a two-way street, to not feel like there's any kind of meaningful connection. And to me, that's like so important. And by doing that, even though it did turn some people off, it turned the right people on. And that sounds weird. It made the right people interested in what I'm doing. And it made the internet and the channel and YouTube feel like a significantly friendlier place, which was really big to me because it can be scary and intimidating anyway. And as it grows and there's more and more people and it's getting bigger and bigger, it can feel even scarier. So by me putting a little more personality in there and kind of reminding people like, I'm just a person, I like making videos, and some people don't connect with that, but some people do connect with me and who I am. And that it made like the world a friendlier place, as cheesy as that sounds. And that kind of changed how I felt making videos in a big way. So I think that answers the question. Yeah, thank you for that question. That was a good one. JC asks, as an audio lover, have you tested the new Roland Bridgecast? I have not, actually. And do you find the routing software similar to Rhodes and the Rodecaster series? Oh, it's great meeting at the B&H event. Yes. Oh, okay, sorry. I have not used the Roland. I have used Roland mixers, and they're great. I have not used the Bridgecast. I'd be interested to see how they did routing. Thank you for coming to the B&H event. If you go to B&H's channel, B&H Photo Video, they have a replay. Actually, we have the internet. I can just show you this because it's fun. So let's go to this little website I found. You guys might like it. It's called youtube.com. And H photo channel. We're going to go here. And we're going to go to videos. And here we go. Podcasting 101. This was last Sunday. I'm going to mute it, though.
What works in your space?
There. This is very cool. So this was... this is Andrew Swift, who's a B&H moderator. This is Luria Petrucci from Live Streaming Pros. And then there's me. And then there's also Bandrew Scott from Podcastage. He was supposed to be there in person, but then the whole world kind of shut down. And, due to like the crowd strike thing. And so his flight got canceled and he had to be remote. But it was very, very cool. I want to see if I can... Yeah, we got to have like this nifty panel that was in like the corner showroom at B&H, and it was like you could see all of New York City on the side there. It was very, very fun. So this is a cool thing. It's like 2 hours long. There's a few audio issues, especially at the beginning, because live streams are hard, as we figured out, and doing an in-person event and a virtual thing turns out that can be a little bit tricky, believe it or not. But that was incredibly fun. It was really fun to get to, again, talk to people in person afterwards and feel, I don't know, like really a good reminder of when you make something online and the numbers go up, it's other humans on the other end of that. That's cool. And prior to that, my wife Heather and I got a very cool tour of the B&H warehouse, which is like their whole basement, how the whole thing works. Couldn't film it or take any cameras, but I got to take a roll of B&H packing tape. So if you ever see boxes that have the B&H packing tape on them, that's always like it's a cool thing. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but I have this, and it's a cool souvenir that I was allowed to take it, but I think I took it from someone who needed it, and I felt a little bit bad about that. So there we go. That was super fun, though. If you have time, definitely go back and listen to that. Super chat from Frank. Thank you, Frank. Thanks for your content. I love you and your word acrobatics. Hopefully I get all of them as a German. I hope you do too. I would say don't feel bad if you don't. You're not missing much. Sometimes there's some gems in there. The thing is, though, when it comes to the jokes, and I would tell my students this, because I'd be like, did you hear about the wedding reception on the moon? Like, the food was great, but there was no atmosphere or something like that. And like they'd all groan and stuff. And I'd be like, okay, it's not about telling a clever joke. It's about like how much the joke pains you to hear it. That's the joke. Like how bad the joke is the joke. And so sometimes I'm like, hey, here's a bit of clever wordplay, but other times it's like, this is so bad, it's good. That's what I would say there. Camille says, what's the biggest purchase regret and what's the best? Oh, that is such a good question. Best, there's been so many great ones. My FX3 that I'm using right now, the Elgato prompter is great. Right back here, I have the original Rodecaster. This was such a game changer because there was nothing like these mixers when that was released. Those are things that stand out as the best. Biggest regret, though. Oh man, I've bought a lot of crappy mic arms for sure. um, biggest regret. Let me see here. I might have to do a little. We might have to go on a little bit of a journey. Is this going to follow me? Yes. Okay. I'm going to dig through here. If I have something I truly regret, like I probably don't have it anymore. But the thing that sticks out, and I almost feel bad like putting it on display like this. This little monitor right here. This is, here, I'll switch back over. Oh, this thing has been with me through a lot and it still works-ish. This is an Elvid little display monitor. I use this to help me make my very first YouTube video, which I think is why I bought it. And I felt so cool having my little like production monitor. It felt legit. And what I like about it is it has analog RCA input. So you can make this as a monitor for like the XL1 or an old camera or whatever. This thing has never like, it's so silly because there's a couple $100 and I got it and it never, like you can even kind of maybe see here on the bottom if I cover my face. Is it gonna focus? There we go. This part's like, this mount is sort of bent and weird and like it was just like that when I took it brand new out of the box. And like the battery thing, even though this is firmly on here, it comes loose so easily. So if you barely bump it, like it loses power if you're running it on battery. It's just so unreliable. The interface is terrible. The quality is not that great. Like I should have returned it when I got it, but I needed it. And so I couldn't. And so I kept it. And that's not really a big deal. Like it's sort of a small regret, but it was my only monitor for like years. And I don't know why, like, I don't know why I didn't upgrade it sooner. And so every time I use this, literally up until like 1 year ago, from 2017 to 2023, I was just like, God, stupid monitor, it doesn't work. And like, yeah, I don't know why I did that. So that's the thing that pops up as my biggest regret. But going back to B&H, when I was there in 2022, I don't, buying souvenirs is hard because I don't like buying just like a mug or something from a place because I feel like I'll never really use it again. So I like to buy practical things. And I think, yeah, I can even here's a camera battery that's charging in my tri-charge. I put a little label on it because I like to know when I get my batteries, but this says B&H 422 because I got this at B&H Photo in April of 2022. So I always buy something like a battery or a filter, like, or a memory card, like something I'll use for a long time as my souvenir. And so finally, when I was at B&H in 2022, I bought this monitor, which, oh, this is plugged in. I'm not going to take that down. This is the Lilliput 4K monitor. And I don't know if this will follow me over here. I just recently bought a second one because I was moving that around so much to put on my camera rig here. That monitor is awesome because that is it's 4K. It doesn't have the analog RCA inputs, but it works great on batteries. It works great on power. It has a great interface. It's like every time I use it, I enjoy it versus just cursing the heavens, which is what I was doing before. So that might not be the default answer, but those are the ones that come to mind. Mark's asking, what about a mobile 2 to 3 person podcast setup? I have that page on my website, himynamestom.com. You can click on gear and go to recommended setups. The 2 to 4 person podcast is probably the way to go. If you want hyper mobile, kind of like someone asked, you could get something like the Interview Pro. Just get 2 or 3 of these and everyone just records. You press record. Now you're recording your audio. Everyone's recording. Sync up your audio and edit it. That could be a way to go. Otherwise, something small like a Rodecaster Duo. I guess that wouldn't be 3 people. 3 is a hard number because there's not like a 3-channel mixer for the most part. You can do the Rodecaster, you could add 2 XLRs, mix in a USB, and it gets a little funky. So you might need them to move into 4 channels, which then means you're moving like a full-size Rodecaster or a full-size DLZ, which is a little bigger. So that does get a little trickier. So I would say, 2 people, Rodecaster Duo, a couple dynamic mics, and you're good to go. More than like 3 people, you might even consider something like this. I'd wonder if somebody in the comments here in the chat here has a suggestion because there's probably some cool things. What's opinion about using Go XLR? I've never used the Go XLR, so I can't really say. I know people love it, and I know it's extremely versatile when it comes to routing, but I also know apparently it's like not being updated anymore, and I think they laid off a bunch of the from what I understand, I think they laid off a bunch of the team. And so the Go XLR is a no-go now. But if you haven't, it works, you know. Essentials, that's a good question. So instead of what are some essentials for a mobile? Something to record, microphones, obviously, but things like memory cards, XLR cables, if you're not using, you know, standalone recorders or wireless units like that. Headphones are really important, especially not just for the person listening. I mean, the guests don't have to wear them. It depends on your show. Some people, it doesn't look right, I guess, if they're wearing headphones. But at least the person manning the recorder needs to be wearing headphones the whole time so they can hear when suddenly someone puts their phone too close to something and it starts creating interference, or, you know, a microphone drops out, or a level gets messed up, or something's accidentally muted. All those things that can happen accidentally. I would definitely say it doesn't have to be the highest quality headphones. It doesn't have to be the best microphones in the world. You know, get some SM58s, which are some of the best microphones in the world, but they'll last you forever. They're tough, you know, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Thomas Dufree. I love your name. I'm an educator looking to record my classroom. I liked your recent stream and thought about DSLR versus camcorders. Any wisdom on DSLR versus camcorder for classes? DSLR nowadays, especially, I'm guessing just referring to mirrorless, but essentially a camera where you can pop off the lens, and the camera kind of looks like this. And camcorder being like a smaller camcorder. It sort of depends. Like, these will generally give you higher quality. That's a very broad statement. But because you can swap out the lens, you have a lot of versatility. You can get this look that I have right now where you know, blurry background, shallow depth of field. There can be some tricks. It's getting better every time a new camera comes out because technology is evolving, but there can be some difficulties with overheating with these cameras, record time limits, all that sort of stuff, whereas camcorders are designed for that. They're designed, they have that one lens that's built in, it's set it and forget it. It can record as long as there's memory and as long as there's power, it can kind of keep going. The overall quality is probably not as high. So camcorder's way simpler and way better probably for longer term recording. Mirrorless camera is better for higher quality and maybe I wouldn't say more versatile. It's differently versatile. Camcorders overall, you could probably start from zero and get away with spending a little less money to get something decent. Reaper Mania. How do you start getting gear for review? I have 156K subs and no one reaches out. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know when that. I mean, I'm weird. I'm like the weirdest, one of the weirder YouTubers for many reasons, I guess. But I really don't seek out brands that much. I have a few brands that I've partnered with over the years, but it's literally like, it's a handful, maybe like 10 brands. And I know there's companies like, I do have a contact form. I mean, this sort of sounds like I'm doing an ad. That's the wrong camera. Going back to the website, I think this is how people started reaching out. Is I've always had a website that sort of changes, but there is a contact form on the website, and a lot of people reach out this way. And way back when, even when the channel had like a couple thousand subscribers, I know like Polar Pro was one of the first companies to reach out. Epidemic Sound was, Rode was, and they were just kind of like, we like what you do. Do you want to try something? You know, we have this new thing. Do you want to send it? And that's what helped me figure out like this whole ethics statement thing, and like how to handle that stuff. But I generally I'm not someone who really likes to have, I don't like to take free products because there's sort of that weird, what's it called? Taboo, about stigma to it. I don't know. I know that I can be like, Rode did send the Interview Pro to me. I didn't ask them to, they just sent it to me. Terrible problem to have, I know. And I know that I can be honest about this. I can tell you whether or not I would spend my $250 on it, what its strengths, what its weaknesses are. But I also know that when I make a video and I say Rode sent this, there are people who are immediately going to question how objective you can be, how impartial, all that kind of stuff. And you can't convince someone what's in your brain. So funding your own gear, you know, just saying like tomorrow, the video I have coming out is about tabletop mic stands. They're all just mic stands I bought over the years, like, you know, and that's easy because it doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, well, Rode sent this stand, so obviously I'm going to say the Rode stand is better. It's just like, these are a bunch of mic stands I bought. And there's no question about any of that stuff. Because even though I know what's going on in my brain, it's hard to always convince other people what's going on and what your motivations and your intent are. And there are plenty of people who abuse those things. I mean, your channel is bigger than mine, so you know this. There are plenty of people who abuse those things and create a bad reputation for everybody. If nobody's reaching out to you and there are a few people you want to reach out to, I would just reach out to them. I would just, sometimes if their website doesn't have anything, it's usually their social media team could be a good place to go. Like if they have a Twitter or an Instagram, just messaging them directly and just be like, hey, this is my channel. I love your stuff. I have a bunch of your stuff. If there's something specific, like I'd love to try out the blank. But that's up to you how you want to handle it. Because I also don't make videos in exchange for products. So sometimes companies are like, oh, if you're not going to make a video, we're not going to send anything. Like, well, it's totally fine with me. But another thing you could try to do, depending on your niche and your videos, is reach out to a retailer in that space. So something I've been able to do over the years with both Sweetwater and B&H Photo is get into a loaner program where like I can ask them, can I borrow this for a month? And they'll send something, you can borrow it. And that way you send it back and you're not receiving something for free. The actual company that makes the thing's not involved. And you still get access to it. So that could be maybe something to think about. How would you set up a video podcast with video and audio? The B&H stream that I mentioned a little bit ago, Luria brought up a great point, which is if you create an awesome streaming setup, you got your good camera, you got your audio, you got your software to stream, you have then created a great podcasting setup. So I'd actually look to create a great streaming setup, and that's the way to go. Nick says, I recently bought 2 Elgato Wave mic arms. I love them, but they both tend to have a large amount of play when moving them up, and one squeaks heavily. Mine, I mean, that's what I'm using right now. If I loosen it and I move it up, I have to crank it down. I do wish they had teeth, like I mentioned. Mine are pretty good. I've never had them squeak. It's weird that both ears are squeaking, though. I mean, I do still wish that the knobs they used were, and mine is the one like I talked about in the video. It's the one that has like, it has an actual knob on the joint here. The original one's only used an Allen key, so it's a little different. This one's been great. This is the white one that I made a video about. It's been fine. It's never squeaked, and it's quite sturdy, especially if I really crank it down. Yeah, so I haven't had that problem. I know sometimes they can be a little droopy and strange, and like the joints still aren't absolutely the best. Squeaking though is super weird. It could be your environment though, like depending on like how much air and dust or whatever, you could potentially get something like just a can of like it's called like white lightning, just some kind of lubricating grease, and maybe just like a couple sprays in there, and it might help quiet things down a little bit. Pride News, can you recommend companies that use cables for microphones or audio recording? Yeah, I really like. So does the price of the cable match its audio quality? On my Patreon and channel membership, I have a thing from a couple months ago where Alan from SoundSpeeds, who's a professional audio engineer or audio recorder, he's a boom operator for like movies and TV shows, but he's done like Marvel movies and, really high budget things. So he's a huge audio nerd who's been doing it for decades. He came over and visited for a while, and I have a cable that he made by hand, and I also have a bunch of Rode XLR cables, which I can grab. That's what I'm using right now, by the way. That is not the right case. Here we go. And I had him tear those down and explain what is good and what is bad. And he really like explained all the shortcomings of the Rode cables. I still really like these cables. I have found the Rode XLR cables are the best middle ground. There's higher end cables, like the one Alan made by hand, it sounds weird, can literally make a microphone sound better. And it's impossible. It's impervious to any kind of interference because of all the things he added and the way he put it together and stuff. But it almost doesn't make sense for me to use that on mic reviews and things because you're not necessarily going to get an accurate representation of the microphone because it's too good. So the Rode cables are relatively inexpensive. They come in a couple different sizes. They come in amazing colors. And I forget what the price is. I know I have a link in the description. Rode XLR cable. I think it's like $25 to $40 depending on what size you get. Boop. Okay, the 3-meter cable is $35. The 6-meter cable is $46, and they come in a bunch of different prices. What I like about these is I have noticed, one, they last and they're durable. I haven't had one die on me yet. Knock on wood. Also, I haven't had any issues with interference. Some of my cheaper cables, especially the ones I was just getting on Amazon, I was getting a lot of interference with. And then the cool thing with these is the cables themselves, they have printing on it, or at least they used to. They are Canary cables, which is it's a good brand. They're not necessarily the highest quality cables that Canary makes, which is a Japanese company, but all of their cables are good. So you're already in a good thing. And then the connectors themselves are Neutrik connectors, which is, again, a good brand in the world of cables and things. And if I can try to take things apart without totally destroying them. So anyway, there's a video on my Patreon YouTube thing where Alan is literally taking everything apart by hand and doing that. But if you take the cable apart and you kind of, see if we can block out my eyes. Focus, there we go. You can see how things are put together. Alan explains how there are ways this could be improved and why this might not be the absolute best, but also the things that are done well and things that are done right, and the fact that they're generally higher quality cables than like your Amazon, generic cables are going to be. So anyway, I've had great luck with these. I like these a lot. Now I need to put this one back together. And I have a bunch of them because Rode sent me one, like when they were releasing it, they sent me a couple of the blue ones because they're like, you like blue? Here's a blue one. So I was like, yeah, I love blue. This is awesome. But I like all these other colors. And so then I have so many of these because I love all the colors. So that's what I would recommend. All right, got about 8 more minutes before I got to wrap up and go actually help my wife set up for a stream in her recently redone studio space. Which backpack quick release system can you recommend? I've only used the Peak Design capture clip, the one here. I know a lot of people are using the Ecamm. I've only ever used the Peak Design. I absolutely love it. The plates are a little strange if you want to intermix them with like the Peak Design Arca Swiss plates will fit on like other Arca Swiss tripods, but not every other Arca Swiss thing will fit on the Peak Design, which is annoying. I don't know if the Falcam's a little more universal, but otherwise I love it. Yes, it's me, Tools. How was the B&H experience? Glad to catch you live. I'm glad to catch it too. B&H was amazing. We talked about it a little bit ago. That was crazy. At the end of it, I told this whole story about like the first time I went to B&H like 15 years ago. I remember standing outside across the street and like taking a picture, being like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Because I've used that website for like 24 years. And it was crazy to be like the corner area where we were filming. You could like look out the windows and see, it was like I was inside the windows I had taken the photo of, and it was like crazy. I wish I could go back and tell myself like in 15 years you're gonna get invited here to talk about podcasting. So cool. Granddaddy-O, do you continually update your course on Final Cut Pro to keep it current with the updates? I intend to take the course. I do. Not necessarily every update. I'm going to add some elements on the 10.8 update that just came out. But if we can go back over here, you can go to learnfinalcutpro.com. My Final Cut course is Rough Cut to Final Cut. You can scroll down and sort of see there's some preview lessons too if you want to see what the course is like. The way the course is structured is I walk you through start to finish of making a project, like making one of my actual videos that exists on the channel. And so I just take you through that whole process, and it's one of my like typical videos. So some videos are way more intense, some videos are really simple. This is like right in the middle, multiple cameras, that whole thing. And I show you how to do that from start to finish. But what I also do is there's sort of like some bonus videos throughout some of these modules that kind of like explain different things. Like here's how to fix missing files, behind the scenes of a project. And then you get through the 4 modules and that's kind of the project, but then there's sort of these more to explore sections, which I'm always adding to. Audio, graphics, cameras. There's even a whole different bonus project that's a lot more complex. It's not a walkthrough, but it's all the elements, all the assets for that project, including the timeline itself. But so essentially what the whole point of me even explaining that is there's the Final Cut project, like the project that the course is based around. And that's pretty consistent. And then throughout it are sprinkled these bonus lessons. And at the end of the course are just extra stuff. So it's things that people who take the course might not ever go to because they might not ever have the problem or the question or need it. But it's a lot of extra things that are there. And so I want to do some for the new slow motion one, enhanced light and sound, the new color correction features. And the only reason I haven't yet is when they come out with an update for something, I just like to see if there's any bugs, see if there's anything weird, see if they update or change anything right away, and then bring it into the course. So yes, it is continually updated. Like there's actually more in the course now than there was when it launched, which is kind of how it should be. That's the plan, at least. Favorite thing to eat in New York? Oh yeah. Okay. There's a place. There's all the food is good in New York. It's like a bagel is amazing. Get some pizza, bakeries and stuff. There's a place called Ippudo, which is a ramen shop. They have these things. They're these veggie buns. And they're just like eggplant veggie buns. Literally, it's like a soft bun, some fried eggplant, a piece of iceberg lettuce, and like some kind of sauce. That's all that's in there. We went in there a couple years ago, and I wasn't that hungry, and the waitress was like, "Oh yeah, we have these buns. They're pretty good." I was like, "Okay, I'll have a couple buns," and she gave me those. It was literally like one of the best things I've ever had in my life. I couldn't believe how good it was. And so the next night, we were back at our hotel, and I was like, I can't stop thinking about these buns. And so we Postmated some from wherever. It was a rainy night. The person was on a bike, so by the time we got the buns at our hotel room, they weren't like super fresh because, yeah, that was kind of rough. And sat down in the hotel room. I think there's a video of this. I don't know if I posted it in a video or she put it on Instagram. I didn't quite realize what she was recording at the time, but I bit into it and I literally started crying because it was so good. It was like an anime where like someone eats good food, they just start crying. It was uncontrollable. The $6 the thing, the waitress was like, yeah, they're pretty good, I guess. It's literally the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. And I didn't get to have them last time we were in New York because we didn't have time. So that's my favorite thing. Ippudo veggie buns. And there's one, I live in California. There's one in Hollywood. So at one point I want to go over there and see if it sounds the same. What do you think about Rodecaster Duo with NT1 for dubbing purposes? That would work great if you're looking for fair priced alternatives. Also, any decent USB mic will work really well. You could do a simpler interface, like the Lewitt Connect 2, a Focusrite Scarlett, a Vocaster. So you could use a really simple interface with the NT1, or you could even just jump into a USB mic, but any of those things will work. There's so many good microphones, and it absolutely will work. How did the camera follow you? This is the FX3, and then my second camera is the Insta360 Link webcam, which if you hold up your hand, I can hold up my hand, and then the camera makes this flashing light, and now it won't follow me. And now I can hold up my hand, and now it will follow me, which is pretty cool. Like, I've been looking at reviews of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, like the gimbal camera that follows you. That following looks really natural. Like, it looks like someone's holding a camera and moving it. This one, the framing's not perfect. It's a little, I've sort of tuned it to be as natural as possible, but it's really handy for, I want to walk over there and pick something up. It works really well. So, I have a review on that webcam. I'm not a webcam guy really, but I really like that one, and it's worked really well for me. Robert says, are there any mixers that have auto mix that are similar to the Rodecaster, sometimes 4 to 5 people? The Mackie DLZ Creator. If you want automation, auto mix, auto leveling, all that stuff, that is the way to go. I talk about it a bit in my review of the XS, but if you go watch Curtis Judd's DLZ Creator video, he goes into the auto mix features in a lot more detail, as Curtis Judd tends to do. He's a very courteous guy, courtesy of Curtis Judd. That's the one that I would recommend if you're not doing the Rodecaster. And Chris, have you tried Blackmagic Cam on iPhone? Does it really bring out any better footage? I have a whole video about it because I got so excited when they released it. I made a video like the very next day. It's awesome. Final Cut camera is fairly similar now. So you kind of have that option, but the Blackmagic one, I really like. I know it's not perfect. It does some really cool stuff. Image quality wise, I don't know that it's different than the native camera, but the manual controls and being able to like do rack focuses and super easy custom white balance and exposure and all that stuff, making your phone work like a, you know, like a mirrorless camera, it's really good at. So I love that very, very much. All right. I think that was pretty much, that's about the end of the time that we have this morning. I'm just going to quickly go through comments. I really appreciate everyone being here and hanging out and talking about cool stuff. Hot Dang was saying, gradually reinvested in my channel over I'm guessing last 5 years. Just don't drop a ton of money. This is good advice. I know this is when we were talking about YouTube strategies a while ago. It's tempting to go to B&H and just load up your card or go into credit card debt, but I really do think it's important to start with what you have and then upgrade as your specific needs become more apparent. That's kind of a thing I've said a lot. Really nice. I sure did. Oh, Ernesto regrets a gimbal. Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people. I think it depends on what you need, because I know people who do a lot of like documentary and commercial work and event work, and for them, their gimbal is like literally they use it all day, every day. They don't even use like tripods hardly. But for a lot of people like me, I don't currently have a gimbal because I just, especially with 4K 120 that a lot of cameras, not this camera, but a lot of cameras have, I don't need a gimbal. But if I were to do more like client commercial work, I would definitely get a gimbal. So it depends. Hey Pierre, what's up? Happy in France. You guys are busy right now. A lot of good stuff going on over there. I was referring to the Olympics, but yeah. Do you have a recommendation on a YouTube content creator program with built-in mentor community versus simply on-demand courses? Yeah, I don't. My wife and I have talked about that for years. We've talked about trying to start our own, all this kind of stuff. It's tricky. The thing that I have found helpful over the years is to either create your own community of creators that you sort of become friends with. You might be able to find like a small Discord server or something, which, it depends on who's in it. But no, I don't have a one gun solution for everything, but finding that little group can be really important. It's nice. Like my wife is she's a YouTuber, so we understand each other. But if you don't have somebody else in your life who is a content creator, it's hard for other people to understand what you're talking about, why you care, what you're dealing with. And so having some kind of support group is really important. Ronnie only subscribed because of cheesy puns. Well, I'm glad you're not lactose intolerant there. Those who want to be informed, those who want to be entertained. So your approach is great. Yeah, it's so funny because I'll post a video and literally on the same video, someone will be like, unsubscribed, wasting my time, stupid jokes. The next comment on that same video is like, I only subscribe for the puns. And I'm like, it's the same video, so I don't know. I see people helping out with suggestions for mobile stuff, and I really appreciate that. Marine X loves the OC White low profile arms. Elgatos are great for the money, but OC White gives me no issues. Those are definitely the higher level ones. At some point, I just need to spend the money and get one so I can try it out. For sure. And Audio Hotline is talking about world's best cables. Those are literally some of the world's best XLR cables. It's true. Tascam X6 or Zoom F3. I haven't used either of those, but I've liked all of the Zoom and Tascam recorders I've ever used, so if that's helpful. What's up, Don? You enjoyed the B&H event. Thank you for watching that. That was a fun panel to be a part of. For sure. Hey, Morty, the person who helped make the whole thing happen is this guy right here. This is Morty, who works at B&H Photo, and I know it was a team effort that made the whole thing happen, but I think he lost a lot of sleep trying to put that whole event together and did a great job. And also helped me secure this from the warehouse. Granddaddy, natural, enjoyable to watch. That's so, thank you. I really appreciate that. All right. Let's see. I know I need to go, but I can't stop, won't stop. Did you make the switch to Resolve? I have not. I'm a Final Cut guy. I am learning Resolve for fun because I think it's a cool program, but I have no plans to fully switch. I just like learning it. It's a great program. Paul records voiceovers in the closet. During recording when it was silent, the recording line would just be straight, but now it's getting a bit of static. I'm guessing something to do with the noise gate happening. either on or off, or two things. Okay. If you had a noise gate on and you were quiet, then it would be quiet. If you turn the noise gate off, now when you're quiet, you're going to hear the static. So you could have turned off a noise gate. Also, if you have any kind of auto level happening, which I don't know if you do, but like my FX3, if I run my shotgun microphone into the audio handle and turn on auto levels, when I stop talking, you can hear the noise floor come up because there's no sound, and so it's trying to boost whatever sound is there. So maybe you have some kind of auto level thing happening. I'm not sure. Come for the cool text, stay for the puns. I'm glad they're not punishing. If only DaVinci had a Photoshop replacement. Indeed. Chris, what's up? How often do you still use Shark Slider Nano with your new desk setup? I don't use it with this, but I've used it when I do my like standing setup over here. I love it. And sometimes I use it with B-roll. The 4K 120 kind of made it easier to not use the slider for B-roll once I got those cameras. But I do use it sometimes when I do my standing desk over there and stuff, and that's cool. Always like to tune in for the colors. Thank you. I try to like put all kinds of bright stuff over here. Okay, and here we go. This is where we can end it. I promise this will be the last one. Over the long haul, what do you think Rode will do with Mackie? I don't know. And I asked Rode this myself, but I don't know, like, how much are they going to tell me, you know? I know Mackie's based in Seattle, I believe, and Rode's based in Australia, and they're totally different teams. And from what I heard, it's a lot of like, keep doing what you're doing, but now you have access to each other's resources. So maybe you could see some of those cool things that Mackie does showing up in Rode products, and you see Rode stuff showing up in Mackie things. I don't know. I definitely had hesitations because I thought Mackie was the only company giving Rode like a run for their money and being genuinely competitive, and I don't want to see that competition disappear. But it sounds like the best analogy I've heard, which I have yet to see evidence otherwise, is that it's kind of similar to something like, you know, looking back here at these guitars, you have like Fender and Gretsch, right? Fender's a guitar company, Gretsch is a guitar company, and Gretsch makes totally some similar guitars to Fender, and Fender makes some similar ones to Gretsch, but they also make different things as well. And they're both owned by Fender. And they have products at the same price point. They have competing products, and they've been doing that successfully for many, many years. So I'm hoping that ends up being the kind of relationship that Rode and Mackie end up having. So that is a good question. And you have an exit strategy. Oh, Lord. My exit strategy right now is to end the stream. I guess it would be like, you know, I still have my teaching credentials. I don't know that I have the like, I don't know that I have like the soul to go back into public education. Yeah, I mean, there's always like client work, production work, something in audio video production is super fun. So that's where we're gonna wrap it up for today. I could definitely go all day, but I actually have to go do something right now. I appreciate everyone being here for my first ever 4K stream. It was time to 4K over the cache to upgrade to fiber so we get more fiber in our diet, and then things could come out more smoothly. I'm so sorry that's where this stream is going to end. But thank you for being here. I'm going to go to my wrap-up screen, which has like a minute countdown, so that way if anyone in the chat wants to say goodbye to each other or whatever, feel free to do that. Appreciate you being here. I'm not sure when the next stream will be. I like to do maybe one a week-ish, and that's about that. So thanks for being here. Yes, Miniature Studio, still love the MKH50. It's the best. And best boom mic, I should say. And speaking of boom mics, I'm going to press boom and end the stream. So have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. And it didn't end. Okay. I'm just going to do it. See you next time. I'm going to have the stream deck set up over here. Bye, everybody.